Man, just really, really disappointed. Um, um, Obviously, Auburn lost their midweek game in a game that they had a lead, and didn't do a very good job to close out the game, and they weren't very happy with that outcome. And we lost a midweek game and had no fight in our belly. Auburn's a team. They're very young, but they come at you off the dribble from different spots on the floor. So that means everyone has to be accountable for having the courage to fight and guard the basketball. And we were 0 for the day today. We didn't have a single guy that put up a fight defending the ball. So then, that gets them going downhill. And then they just toyed with us. I mean, they beat us on the glass. They beat us everywhere. Defensively, they're denying, which we expected. When you're playing a team that denies, you got to cut with a purpose and you got to screen with a purpose. Just like rebounding and loose balls and rotations, you don't need talent for any of that stuff. That has nothing to do with the ball going in the basket. It all has to do with effort. And we were 0 for the game in every one of those departments. And that's why we got embarrassed the way we did.
First question to Dave.
Frank, you mentioned the no fight in the belly, and AJ said that the effort could have been better. How do you get that back, considering you guys were kind of in a rhythm of practicing and playing games, and everything looked good at LSU, but it's kind of been going downhill since?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that – we scored at LSU. I think LSU had something to do with us dunking the balls. Meaning that their rotations weren't very good. And then the last two teams we've played, they're pretty connected defensively, so they don't get out of the way. So now we actually, they deny, they make things really difficult, and which means we have to sustain effort and discipline. And that's why you saw Missouri score whatever they scored, 80, whatever. And you saw these guys, clock us. I don't remember ever being the head coach on a team that gave up 100 points. But maybe we have, I don't know. I don't remember that ever happening, but, and all we've talked about for the last, 5 days since I've been back, is that, we can sit around and make excuses, or we can embrace the situation, the hand that we've been dealt. And everyone has to be self-accountable to a greater extent than we usually are, because we haven't had the time to become who we need to be as a team. And me as a coach, I haven't had the chance to break bad habits through practice. And and the problem is that we don't play bad teams. We're playing a bunch of really good teams, and so if the self-accountability is not there, and the lack of team disciplines that you build over the course of a season are not there, it's a recipe for an embarrassing moment. And that's kind of what we went through today.
Mike Uva.
Frank, I'm not asking, and nor would I expect you to make any excuses. But when you look at a performance like today, I mean, some people obviously look at the COVID situation, you guys trying to balance things. How much of that really made a difference in today? And is it more so just, like you said, the lack of effort and just not being able to execute the way that that this team is capable of doing, especially on the defensive end of the court?
Mike, the bottom line, when the rubber meets the road, everyone has to have a responsibility for what their job is. Everybody, me, my assistants, the players, and you usually use, as the head coach, I can't speak for other people's responsibilities. I can talk to you about mine, is to build a structure, a system with how your team plays on offense and defense. And, we have not had the opportunity to build that defensive structure. And we're trying, and you can say, well, you guys did practice October and November. We did. And we played a certain way that we play completely different now because of personnel. And I haven't, those 7 weeks where we couldn't, I think we had 6 practices, if I'm not mistaken. Just, I think I said this to you guys the other day. This is like AAU ball right now, what we're trying to do. And in AAU basketball, if you ever go watch an AAU tournament, the defense is really bad for the most part. Why? Because teams don't practice structure in AAU for the most part. They get together and coaches try to simplify things, and you just don't have the same team structure than you have when you practice every single day. But we haven't gotten that opportunity, Mike. So at the end of the day, we all have to man up. And I don't use the word man. Today's day and age, everybody gets so sensitive about what you say. I coach men, so that's why I'm using the word. We all have to man up and do our jobs better than we ever have done them individually while we try to rebuild our team. And today, we didn't do our jobs very well individually. And we don't have team structure. And that's what I'm saying. When you connect the 2 dots, when you're in boxing and you're in the ring and you hit the guy and the guy don't hit back, your confidence grows. Now, when you hit the guy and the guy smiles and hits you back, then you become a little more hesitant about punching again. Because anytime you punch, you open your face. And when you open your face, you're going to get put to sleep if you don't know what you're doing. Well, that's a boxing analogy. And that's what happens in the ring. Well, today, we never punched back. And as the game continued to flow, Auburn continued to gain more and more confidence in their aggression. And we never once stood ground and hit back, not one time in any department of the game. And, when you do that and you play a good team, you get the result we got today.
Colin?
I think that there was a big stretch in the first half, almost 8 minutes, where you guys didn't get a field goal. As coaches, is there anything you can do to curb that, change that a little bit, or is it just come down to players having to hit shots when they get their opportunities?
Yeah, we had countless opportunities in the open court to convert layups and create fouls. And I think we had 3 opportunities where we're in the open court where we shot air balls. And when I mean in the open court, I'm not talking about 5 against 5. I'm talking about like 3-on-1, 4-on-2s. And then when we did get fouled, I think we missed 5 of our first 7 free throws, if I remember correctly. It created the whole like insecure mindset. And then they sensed it like, oh, this guy don't want to come at the rim. And they just attacked us. And we never, like I said, Colin, we never punched back. And heck, in the second half, I think we were shooting 28% until they made some substitutions and we got some layups once the game was completely out of hand to make that field goal percentage number a little bit better. But it's they denied, they were aggressive, they hounded us, and we tried to drive them. Well, obviously they didn't get out of the way. So then we stopped driving them, and just disappointed, man. I'm Bruce Pearl said to me, he goes, Frank, your teams, I've told my teams that no one guards their yard better than your teams, meaning every guy on my team is responsible for their man when they have the ball, and no one does it better than we do. He said, you guys don't do that right now. I said, who you telling? I see it every single day. And that's where that self-accountability I'm talking about comes from.
Cam?
Coach, you said yesterday that you're not really looking for sympathy for this team with the situation they've been going through, but just some understanding of how hard it's been. When you have a game like this in practice, I guess, trying to fix it, how do you toe that line of still trying to, be tough on them, but also be understanding of how difficult this whole stretch has been for these guys?
Well, Cam, if I get tough on them, then everyone wants to know why Frank is so mean and so bad and such a bad human being. And, we got to get people like him out of basketball and coaching. That's what all you guys that read chat rooms, that's what you're going to be reading. If I got to revert to what I tried to do when I first got here, to fix this program that had no identity. And right now we're a team without an identity. And how do I fix that? Well, I've always fixed it through practice and disciplines and holding people accountable. And, and the confusing thing about this team is we got a lot of guys that have been through that already. We shouldn't have gone on rewind and start from scratch again. But here's the other thing. When a coach is trying to build an identity on a team, you got zero chance to win games, zero. And I'm trying to figure out, do I continue to believe in who we are and be patient and allow it to get back? Or do I kind of start making things very, very difficult to force an identity on this team? But if I do that, we got zero chance to win. Obviously, trying to do it the other way gave us zero chance to win today. So we're off from practice tomorrow. So I reflect a lot. It's all I do. When you become old like me, Uva doesn't understand these things. He just bulletproof. He's going to go figure out what to get into the next day. When you're my age, you reflect a lot. And you reflect on how to do things better. I got to figure that part out. Cam, I don't have those are the two alternatives. I don't have the answer for you right now.
Joe?
Coach, after the game, when you were looking at your players and just kind of getting a gauge of the locker room, do you sense that this team is not ready to fold yet, that they'll be able to bounce back? Like, what sense do you get after a performance like this, looking into your players' eyes after a tough loss?
I don't have an answer for you, Joe. We haven't been around each other enough and consistently enough to deal with adversity and good for me to have a feel for where we're at as a team from that standpoint. I wish I can give you an answer, and I think you know me. If I had the answer, I'd give it to you. And I'm searching right now. Our leadership's not very good. It's not negative. When I got bad leadership, I'd say it's bad leadership. Right now, we got no leadership. We're just there. We're just there. And in life, there's nothing worse than just being there. You gotta be, when you look in the mirror, what's that person that's looking back at you? What's that person stand for? Right now, we as a team, we don't stand for anything. And, we got to figure out a way to get better in that department before we got any chance to win a game.
Dick?
Frank, AJ voiced a concern about the team not playing together on offense. You had 86 points today, but only had 14 assists. What are your thoughts on that?
It's kind of what I explained about Auburn. Auburn tries to play defensively the way that my teams usually play defensively. They hound you on the ball and they don't let you pass the ball. So then you have to learn how to screen and cut. And screening and cutting, see, nobody has ever asked me like, wow, so-and-so did a great job of screening today. I've done press conferences for a long year. No one's ever asked me like, hey, so-and-so really cuts really well. No one's ever asked me that question because no one pays attention to those things. But if you don't do those things, you got no chance to win offensively. And, and right now we're really bad at those two things. We don't cut, we don't screen. I'm not real happy with some things, but I'm not into making my team's private matters public. So that's between me and those guys, and and there's some things that we got to change. But Auburn don't let us pass. So when you can't pass the ball, then you better spread them out and drive them. Well, we couldn't do that. I think you guys watched the game, but we had no chance to drive and score. So then you got to depend on cutting and screening, and that requires unselfishness and effort. And those are two categories that we were not very good at today.
Michael and Anna?
Frank, particularly with your front court, I know that's an area where you guys are really banged up. I know you said yesterday Levesque is really one of the only guys you have out there that you can depend on right now. Notice that Minot came out there at the end of the game, played a few minutes. I know it's difficult to join a team mid-season, but is he somebody that you think could maybe see more playing time over the coming weeks?
He understands the things that we try to do better than some guys that have been on our team all year, and you combine their knowledge. The problem with him is that, ever since the pandemic shut down the NBA academy that he was at in Mexico, and I think it was back in May, he's basically been home in Montreal, and just like everyone else, don't have a lot of places to play in. And he's somebody that needs to get in better shape. He's got to get used to the speed of changing ends and the athletes that we play against. I can guarantee you that for the last 10 months, he has not played against any athlete like Auburn has. We just, we got to help him. We got to teach him, and then he's got to do his part. He's got to work really hard to get in a lot better shape so he can keep up with the game, and then he can impact it with what he's good at around the basket.
Mitch?
Coach, I know you mentioned that you guys got to cut better and you got to screen better as well. But in the meantime, before this game coming up later this week at home, what do you want to see in practice when you guys get back out there?
I thought we were all right in practice the last couple of days. I didn't think we had bad practices. Truth be told, I was probably too easy on them yesterday from my standpoint. I'm trying. The one thing that if you ask anybody that's ever played for me, anybody, whether it's high school, K-State, or here, the one thing those players will tell you is Frank brings it every single day. And, I'm still trying to kind of rediscover some energy that I don't have right now that I've always had. So I'm trying really hard to bring a certain energy onto the court that's self-accountability again. Get back to that. That's why I've talked to the players about that. I can't drive the energy in the gym the way I usually do right now. I can at moments, but it's hard for me to do that for 2.5 straight hours. So I didn't feel real good yesterday. I was probably too easy on them from a competitive standpoint. That's when I go home tonight. That's what I got to figure out a way to fix my part. But with all that said, man, it's when you start playing and the guy on the other side is trying to kick your teeth in, you don't need a coach yelling at you to fight back. You gotta figure out a way to fight back on your own. And we didn't do a very good job of that today. I don't know. You guys watched the game. What would, if you watched us today, you would say that our team represents what? Nothing positive. You've been watching my teams for 9 years. Now you could say, well, they didn't play good. Well, you can say they don't do this. Well, they don't shoot it good. Well, I don't like his offense. Well, he yells too much. Oh, he's so mean. Say all those things. But the one thing that you guys have been covering my team for 9 years, they're going to play hard and they play together. It's the only thing I've ever controlled, but I control that through practice and through personal relationships. And right now we're void of those two things.